One of the most commonly used effects that people like to be able to do is the illusion of text being written on. And combined with the right font, you can get something pretty nice. Now, I don't have the perfect font here, but I think you get the gist of why it looks kind of old school written on. So I'm going to show you how to do this. It's actually not terribly difficult. It's a little time consuming depending on how many words you're doing. And I think for our example, we'll just use the word Webster just because it will go faster. All right. So I'm going to work within my font animations project. I'm going to create a new composition. We are going to leave it 1920, 1080, 24 frames a second. All of this is fine. 10 seconds is more than enough. Black background's fine. Let's name it though. I'm going to call this script on, only because I already have things called right on and I don't want to get confused. All right, so we need to build our text layer with a font that gives us that sort of pen look. So I'm going to go Layer, New, Text, and I'm going to go ahead and type my words. But I'm going to select all once I have it, and I'm going to go find a different font, one that I think will kind of give me that written on kind of feel. All right, that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to make it a little bigger just because it's going to make it easier to sort of draw if it's got some size to it. And again, I can align this by going to align and go center from left to right, center from top to bottom. And you know, again, this just centered top to bottom doesn't look quite right to me. So I'm actually going to move it up a little. So sometimes, you know, what is mathematically right isn't necessarily aesthetically pleasing. So I'm still going to move it up like I did, but I'm still going to do left to right to make sure that's correct. And it appears that it is. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to actually draw a path. So to draw a path, we're going to get the pen tool. I'm going to start drawing the way a pen would if you were to write this out. All right, so I'm just going to follow the shape of the letters. I'm going to watch and make sure that my mask doesn't start a new mask because that could really mess stuff up. Once I can see what the color is that it's making, it makes it a little easier to know what to watch for. So we've got kind of a gray mask going on. So when we finish the E, we got to get the pen up into around the B so that it would write on in a realistic fashion. So someone would write down and then they'd bounce back up and they would finish the B. And then the S, and I can move that later, the S would start here. So we have to sort of work around the letter to get that here. It is very easy to accidentally touch the wrong thing. Now I'm here at the S and I got to get up to the T. The S will have already been drawn on at this point, so I can cut across and just go up to where the T is and go down and go up here, and then again I can cross over if I need to and go and draw the cross across the T, and then I'm going to keep going, and I'm always watching for my mask to change colors, because if it changes colors I've actually started a new mask and I'm going to have problems. So make sure you're paying attention. All right. If I go and I click in the line, I can put in new keyframes. I can create bendy ones. In this case, you know, bendy might be to my advantage. But like this S is too close, so I'm going to go and I'm going to mark a new dot there. I'm going to make sure that it gets, it can overlap the B, but it can't do the S. So I've got to make sure that it's out of the way. All right, so that's pretty good. Now we need to add an effect to this, because right now it's just a path and it doesn't know what we want to do with that path. So we can go over here, make sure that we are on effects, and then we can do a search for stroke. We will find a couple things labeled that. We're going to go to the generate control. We're going to drag it down here. We're going to make sure we drop it right on the layer that we want to apply it to. All right, and it should come up under effects. You should be able to see stroke, and usually it will load the effects controls for you up here. Now we've got to understand kind of how this is doing. I'm going to set my project to loop at around 4 seconds. So I'm going to hit the letter N down there. So this effect pays attention to the path that you have drawn that normally would be considered a mask, but it's not a closed mask, right? It's just a line that doesn't end by connecting, but rather ends by just ending. So what does that mean? Well, what you're looking at here is the path that stroke is going to draw along. To see what you're doing, you have to say, I want to reveal the original image with my drawing. So first we're going to take the brush size and we're going to thicken it up until we can actually see all the text that we were hiding before. All right, it may be imperfect. I've got a bottom of this I need to fix, but get it to where the majority of things look pretty correct. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to start at the beginning of our comp and we're going to set the end. And if this is confusing up here, you can always go to the stroke controls down here. We're going to go to the end of our animation and we're going to mark our first keyframe. And we're going to take that keyframe and we're going to back it all the way to 0. And as you saw, it just went away, right? It totally went away. And then we're going to set our second keyframe. Let's say we want this to animate over, say, 2 seconds. I'm going to go down to about 2 seconds in. I'm going to set another end keyframe. And this one is at 100%. All right. So now what happens is it moves down the line and draws on for us. But as you saw, there are some imperfections in there. We got some overlap when the E draws in. The B is getting revealed right here. So now I can fix some of this. So if I go to where I think the problems are started, like at the bottom of this W, I can say, yeah, this needs to come down a little bit. All right, and then play it some more. And then the B was a problem, right? We got this little sliver here. So that's because this could be moved over. So I moved that over and now we're good. The B comes on. You probably saw that the S was not right there. We kind of bumped the S here. It's starting to show it. So we're going to go a little further into the B to get up to the start of the S. We got another little sliver there. So I'm going to move that out of the way because, again, overlapping what's already been drawn in is not a problem. So there's the S. And maybe you have to go through it smooth. There's a little sliver of T there, which I don't like. So I'm going to go up a little higher. Oh, still got it, don't we? It's probably this keyframe right here, or this little anchor point. There we go. Now, oh, it's still just barely there, but there you go, sneaked it out. All right, T-E-R, everything else looks okay, except the R didn't really fit. Well, that looks pretty good. All right, so now when I play it, it writes on. And again, combined with the right font, this can be pretty cool. I could have had the T cross off at the end, like the person wrote the whole word and then went back and crossed the T. It would have just been a matter of drawing the path a little bit differently. But you'll find that this is really, really handy to be able to animate things on in kind of a classic sense.